Lesson 61 is about solving equations in two steps. Now the first question that we have is to solve 3x plus 2 is equal to 7. Now when it says solve, it means find the value of x that makes this equation true. So what we want to know is 3 times some number plus 2 should equal 7. So if we were to say maybe x is 2, let's take a random guess. Say x is 2, we're going to have 3 times 2 plus 2. Is that equal to 7? We don't know, so we're going to put a little question mark above the equal sign. 3 times 2, that's 6. And 6 plus 2, well, is that equal to 7? Definitely not. 6 plus 2 is 8. So 8 is not equal to 7. So sometimes in these problems we're going to need a better method than guessing and checking, because you can see it didn't work out quite right this first time. So what we're going to do in these problems when we want to solve, we want to isolate the variable x. So we want to know what x is equal to in the end. In order to do that, our first step is to undo the addition here. So we're going to undo addition of 2 by subtracting 2, because 2 minus 2 is 0. What we do on one side, we also have to do on the other side. So we've got now 3x plus 0, we don't need to write that, is going to be equal to 7 minus 2, that's 5. Now to undo the multiplication of 3 times x, well, undo multiplication, we have to divide. So we're going to divide by the number we want to get rid of. We're going to divide by 3. That leaves x by itself. We're going to divide by 3 to balance out the other side. We've got our answer. X is equal to 5/3. We could say x is equal to 1 2/3, but we don't have to. We can report our answer as an improper fraction. Okay? That's exactly the way that the textbook does it, and it's a perfect way for you to do it. If you want to write it as 1 2/3, because that makes more sense to you, you're welcome to do it. Now in order to check our work, our check for this problem, to see if we got it right, is to substitute our value of 5/3 back in the original equation for x. So if we say 3 over 1 times 5 over 3, we're going to change this 3 into a fraction because we know we're multiplying it by a fraction. And then we add 2 to that, it should be equal to 7, if we're correct. 3 times, well, let's simplify before we multiply. We've got a 3 and a 3, so that's a 1 and a 1. We're now left with 1 times 5. We know that's going to give us 5. And 1 times 1 is 1, so 5 over 1 plus 2, is that equal to 7? Definitely is. 7 is equal to 7. All that means is we got our answer right. We know we did. We can move on to the next question. Alright, we've got 2/3 x minus 1/2 is equal to 10/3. We're going to go through the same step-by-step process. Let's undo the subtraction of 1/2, because what we want is to get x by itself in the end. So to undo subtraction of 1/2, we have to add, because adding is the inverse of subtracting. So what we do on one side, we have to do on the other side. We now are going to get our next line of work. We're going to get 2/3 x minus 1/2 plus 1/2, that's 0, so we don't need to write anything, is going to be equal to, well, we have 10/3 plus 1/2. Let's work that out on the side. 10/3 plus 1/2. Well, we know we need to have the same denominators when we're adding fractions, so the least common multiple of 3 and 2 must be 6. So let's rewrite. We've doubled 3 to get to 6, so we doubled 10 to get to 20 for our first equivalent fraction. We've tripled 2 to get to 6, so we triple 1 to get to 3 for our next equivalent fraction, and we get 23/6. Let's go ahead and write that on the right side of our equal sign. So 2/3 x is equal to 23/6. Now we want to undo the multiplication of 2/3 times x. To undo multiplication of a fraction, well, we want to multiply by the reciprocal. So we're going to multiply by 3/2, because we want to get the x by itself. We now have the x by itself, just like down here, but we need to balance out our equation. So we're going to multiply the other side by 3/2. If we go ahead and show this work on the right, we've got x is equal to 23/6 times 3/2. This is a nice one. It's a nice one because we can simplify before we multiply. 3/6 is the same thing as 1/2. And now we can find our answer. 23 times 1 is 23, and 2 times 2 is 4, so we get 23/4. That's our answer. We could write 5 3/4 if we wanted to, but we don't have to. We got it right. 23/4 is what x must be in order to make our equation true. We can box it and move on to our next example. We'll practice this some more with our lesson practice on page 196. Make sure you've got your notes complete, and I'll see you during our next class.